Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today we'll be watching a video titled Non-Muslims Shocked by Muslim Child Reciting Quran from Memory, Muhammad Ali. So yeah, from the title I assume there will be a child reciting the Quran in front of a non-Muslim. Without further ado, let's watch.
Yes.
So obviously,
Yes.
you mentioned that there's all over the world. Does everyone memorize it in the original language?
Yes.
Does that sort of bring up challenges when you're usually trying to understand it? How does that work?
A great question. Okay. So I want to allow this little daughter of ours. She's not my daughter. She's my friend's daughter, right? But she can do something very beautiful, which is recite the Quran. I don't know if you heard Quran being recited before. So I want you to have a listen to how it sounds. Okay. You ready, Jannah? Okay. So she's going to recite from chapter 33 of the Quran. Okay. Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقرن في بيوتكن ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية الأولى وأقمنا الصلاة وآتينا الزكاة وأطعنا الله ورسوله إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا واذكرن ما يتلى في بيوتكن من آيات الله والحكمة إن الله كان لطيفا خبيرا إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.
Okay. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Thank you. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair.
Sadaqallahu al-Azim. That's a beautiful recitation.
I think we'll go to that now. Okay. So basically, she recited a few verses of the Quran that is mainly directed to the wives of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Basically, basic acts of conduct, of morality, etc., to fear Allah, to be close to God, right? So in Islam, memorizing the Quran, the whole book of the Quran, is a part of a daily life for Muslim, basically, right? So as Muslims, we pray 5 times a day. I'm sure maybe you've heard that before, right? So in our daily prayer, we recite the Quran. So every Muslim at least memorizes a part of the Quran, right? There's multiple children around the world. You can see even millions of children today. Some of them are even blind children, but they memorize the whole Quran. There's 600 pages, 6,000 verses of the Quran, right? So it is a part of our daily life. So I usually say that to the people.
Now, the one thing that I think is very different between Islam and other religion is that memorizing the Quran is integrated as a normal part of life as a Muslim because of the Salat, the very minimum, the 5 daily prayer, the 5 daily Salat, right? Because in the Salah you will recite the Quran from memory. So the very minimum for the if for example someone who just become Muslim, they have to know the Fatiha, so that because that's the compulsory portion of the Quran to be recited in the Salah, in the 5 daily Salah. And then normally after the Fatiha you will recite another surah or a set of ayah, right? Hence memorizing it becomes something that is natural for Muslim. I'm not sure whether is there any other religion that have such a thing. Like for example, for a Christian, right? Is there any reason for you to memorize word by word, letter by letter for any portion, any page, any portion, other than for the sake of memorizing, right? Because it's not, you don't have any ritual where you have to recite it from memory. Yeah, so in Islam, because it's part of it, so that's why from the very beginning of Islam, memorizing the Quran is what Muslims do. Hence, to have many that memorize the whole Quran. Hence, if you discuss about the issue of preservation of the Quran, etc., I think for those who are not Muslim, it's hard to imagine the reality where if you change anything in the book, multiple people can see there's some mistake there, right? So and it's not like some people are selected to memorize or something, because it's what they do. And for a good Muslim, they would like to have everything in the memory so that they can recite it in the prayer, for the entire Quran. Especially in Ramadan, people do that.
But today I had the chance to introduce an example of it, right? So not just say it, but actually allow you to hear the memorization, recitation of the Quran, right? Okay.
When you recite, do you sing it, or is it just that the language is?
Okay, a beautiful question. Beautiful question. Yes. So there is a what we call tajweed. Tajweed is certain rulings that you use when you recite the Quran, right? So I wouldn't call it singing, but this is the closest thing it would be in the English language, right? So it has a type of a melody. But the Quran, generally, all of it has a type of a melody. But also there is certain rulings when you're reading of how to read the Quran. For example, there is a mad. A mad is a long period of time and when you say one letter. So instead of saying you say right? So this is a mad that would be in certain letters, right? So these type of rulings you will have when you recite in the Quran. They're unique to the Quran. So when you speak Arabic, normally you're not going to be using these rules, right? But it's unique to the Quran. So why you might hear a certain melodic kind of way when you listen to the Quran, you see a kind of a melody going on, right?
Yeah, it's not even the ruling that creates the melody. It's not even for the hadith, it's just for the Quran. So for example, a hadith that normally many Muslim memorize, for example, innamal a'malu binniyat. Normally when we recite it, it's just innamal a'malu binniyat wa innama likulli imri'in ma nawa until the end, right? We do not need to recite with the rulings of recitation of the Quran, like innamal a'malu binniyat. That's if we are using the rulings of recitation of the Quran to the hadith, it will sound like that. But we do not need to do that, because the rulings is for the Quran, and it creates at the very minimum a certain melody that fits the message. So that's why you will see, and that's another dimension of it which is quite interesting. Each words have its meaning, but coincidentally, I don't know, that the word that means something have the sound that reflect it, right? So meaning that when the words about the paradise that those who obey God will enjoy, the word sounds nice. The meaning is nice, but it sounds nice as well. While the word that describes the harsh punishment, it sounds different. Not just the meaning, but the sound when you recite it, right? So that's, I guess, the hikmah of the language. Yeah, so, and I think it's also what makes it easier to memorize the Quran, because there's melody to it, realize it or not. For those who recite the Quran and try to memorize, just like when you try to memorize certain things, certain verse, certain concepts, sometimes it's easier to train your brain to memorize by making it a melody or a song, right? So it's easier to memorize a song, but without the melody of the song, you just print out the paragraph, ask people to memorize it. It's very difficult. But when you listen to the song, it's easier. We don't realize it, but it's easier. So the Quran is in a way that without realizing it, Allah have made it so that it becomes easy to memorize. Once the meaning is meaningful, second, it sounds, with the melody, makes it easy to memorize. Anyway, so that's about the Quran and the memorization of the Quran. Yeah, interesting. I wonder how many non-Muslim are familiar with the topic, so hence some elaboration there. So any question, any point or any point of discussion, feel free to comment. If you are from other religion that have similar things about your holy texture or holy books, feel free to comment and share. Thank you for watching. See you next time.